And this week, Meghan Markle was pictured alongside friend and wellness entrepreneur Katie Lee. And according to a fascinating expose in the Sun newspaper, the Sussexes are spending more and more time with these kind of health-conscious hotshots. 3 years after buying their £11 million mansion, Harry and Meghan reportedly spending less time with the A-list names that attended their wedding, like Posh and Bex, but instead getting closer with local neighbours dubbed the Montecito Mafia. A local source told the newspaper Meghan's friends are very much into the Gwyneth Paltrow-style wellness fads. So, Lady Colin Campbell, does this imply the Duchess is fully focusing on the relaunch of her lifestyle blog, The Tig, or is this simply because the big A-listers from California and Hollywood and also the UK have turned on them?
Well, Dan, I think you're right with the latter, and therefore she has to now associate with the former. I have seen it time and again with people who were of some eminence, usually people of very grand stature, who were born grand, who were perfect jerks, and who ultimately their own kind spurned them, and they always end up with employees or with staff or with people who they have to pay somehow. You know, she has been spurned by all A-listers, and now she has to associate with people who she's scratching around trying to make some money with. And let's remember, before Meghan met and married Harry, she was an influencer, quote unquote, with the Tig, and before that, the Working Girl. And now she's back to square one. So after everything, she's back to square one. And this time there's no prospect of cultivating the A-list, because the A-list aren't interested in having anything to do with her anymore.
Yeah, indeed. And Phil, I have to say, I find it difficult to trust people who change friends as quickly as they do a pair of running shoes. You know, isn't the whole point of friendship that it's about loyalty? You know, my best friends in life are the people who I went to school with. And anyone from Meghan's pre-Suits life has been cut out long ago.
Indeed. Good evening, Dan. Well, Lady C's in great form tonight. So
Always.
Why not? Happy birthday, Lady C.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
Is it today?
The time got it wrong.
Hey.
The time got it wrong when they said I was 74 and 47.
Lady C, I am so sorry. I had absolutely no idea. I feel terrible. You look incredible. And my goodness, I'll celebrate with you in a couple of weeks' time in person. But wow, Phil, sorry. Thank you for reminding me. And thank you for working tonight, Lady C. That's above and beyond. Sorry, Phil, I interrupted.
Your best friends are people you can phone up, you know, and sometimes you don't see them for years, do you? But I do take some of this with a pinch of salt. I mean, they mentioned John Travolta. I mean, from what I can gather, they bumped into him in a foyer, a hotel foyer a few weeks ago. I don't really think he's a close friend, but definitely some of these people they mentioned, like Jessica Mulrooney, she's definitely out. And they got together with these people in the wellness circle in the so-called Montecito Mafia. But basically, they're people who they think are going to be useful to them. And when they're not useful to them, they won't be friends anymore. And you can do that for so long, but in the long term, it probably backfires on you.
Lady C, I have a feeling that these people are also going to be pretty horrid, right? I mean, the Montecito Mafia, those wellness types in California, they're pretty much among the fakest people in the world.
Dire. Absolutely dire. You know, I mean, I have friends who have properties in Montecito, and I mean, they say, well, I'll quote what Christine Biddle, who is the WASP premier PR in the United States, says. She says, you go to Montecito, it's either for the newlywed or the nearly dead. And everybody there is either old, broken down, or starting out, and everybody else is dire. And I mean, there's no more dire crowd than the wellness crowd. You know, they, with their esoteric new age rubbish and, you know, buying rubbish and slapping it on their body. I mean, crazy, ridiculous people.
Yeah, no, indeed. They very much are, Lady C. Oh, my goodness, on amazing form on her birthday. But look, things still aren't great for the couple here in the UK as well, because Prince Harry's arch nemesis and long-serving palace advisor Sir Edward Young has received a rare honour from the King. So Sir Edward, who was the late Queen Elizabeth's most senior aide, has been appointed as King Charles's permanent Lord-in-Waiting. He, you will remember, came to the public's attention after the release of Harry's hatchet job Spare, where he was nicknamed the Bee and accused of consolidating power through a series of bold Machiavellian manoeuvres. The Duke has also criticised Sir Edward's involvement in the decision to remove his Met Police bodyguards, citing significant tensions between them. So, Phil, I guess this shows why it would have been very difficult for Harry to have stayed in the royal family, because he would have hated a decision like this.
Yeah, I mean, he was incredibly rude, wasn't he, to the courtiers in Spare, not just the Bee, as he called Lord Young, but other courtiers as well. And I think this shows the King is giving them a show of support. He knows that they did their best in very, very difficult circumstances. We had Prince Philip's deaths, we had the COVID pandemic, and then, of course, the Queen being ill and eventually dying. They did their best. And to call them a bunch of, I think he called them Machiavellian, white, middle-aged men, as if that was something that was detrimental to them, it was incredible.
Oh, that's the worst thing. That's the worst thing, right? If you're Meghan Markle, the worst thing to be is a straight, white, middle-aged man. Funny, because that's who she's married to. But she doesn't like him much either, does she?
This is a job for life he's given to Lord Young, and he can represent him at events he can't go to. Yeah. And it's a show of support, and slowly but surely, as we discussed the other week, it's death by a thousand cuts. He's putting clear blue water between himself and Harry and Meghan.
No, indeed. Now, look, Lady C, it's come to light that Harry and Meghan can still legally use their HRH titles after paperwork granting the honour was never annulled. That sort of goes against, doesn't it, the fact that they were removed from the royal website? What's going on here?
Well, the fact of the matter is there are precedents for this before. For instance, Princess Maud, Countess of Sussexes, who was the granddaughter of Edward VII, when her cousin George V acceded to the throne, he instructed her to cease and desist being referred to as Her Highness Princess Maud, and that she was to be referred to only thereafter as Lady Sussexes, which indeed she was, including in the court circular. However, during the coronation, she had the robes of a princess, and she wore the robes of a princess. So there are precedents for various members of the royal family from the past, and this is just but one, who are prevented from using their Royal Highness titles, or in Princess Maud's case, her princely title, but they still have it legally. They're just not allowed to use it. And I would imagine if Harry and Meghan started to advertise themselves as His and Her Royal Highness the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, they could well be stripped of them. But in the meantime, there's no need for stripping them of them, because they are just prevented from using them, and everybody knows it.
Got it. So, Phil, maybe it's something like they'll just be monitored.
Yeah, I think it's nice. It's a weapon, isn't it, for the King to have behind his back, isn't it? It's something that he's got there. If he needs the nuclear option, he's got it. And, we always knew that they were going to keep the titles but not use them. That was part of the agreement with the Queen. But I think it's useful for him to have it there should he need it. But I don't see him using it in the near future at all. Unless
Phil Dampier and our beautiful birthday girl, Lady Colin Campbell, thank you so much. We'll speak on Monday.